Welcome to the Basics of Virtual Assistants podcast, your go-to destination for all things virtual assistant. I'm your host, Paul, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you join us today. Just 4 short years ago, I took the leap into the world of virtual assistants, and let me tell you, I have never looked back. Now it's my turn to help you take the same exciting path. As we explore this world together, I'll be sharing my experiences, insight, and all the valuable lessons I've learned along the way. So get ready to explore the world of virtual assistants, uncover its limitless potential, and let me guide you on your path to becoming a successful virtual assistant. Your transformation into a skilled virtual assistant starts right here, right now. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to this week's episode. This week we'll be talking all about the basics of pricing yourself as a virtual assistant. Now, this episode is part 1 of a 3-part series on pricing. And before we jump in, I would love it if you've listened to the podcast, if you can leave a review. This helps other virtual assistants find the podcast as well. So let's jump on in. When you're pricing yourself as a VA, it's really important to understand the fundamentals. You need to understand what type of pricing structures there are and how they best suit you before you jump in and look at your prices and how you're going to share that with your customers. If you've scrolled Pinterest or been on Instagram or watched a TikTok video about pricing, then you would know there are so many different ways to price yourself as a VA. You really need to know the basics of each types of these pricing structures, and that's what we're going to go over today is the 4 most common pricing structures. Firstly, we have hourly rate. Now, hourly rates can be used by everyone. They're pretty straightforward. You charge a dollar amount per hour that you work. Hourly rates are great, especially when you're first starting out. I personally recommend hourly rates when you're first starting out for 2 reasons. One, when you're first starting out, you don't always know exactly how long a task is going to take you. I've seen VA after VA after VA undercut themselves, me included, because they've quoted a set amount of hours to complete a task, thinking it'll only take a few hours, and then it ends up being way longer. Hourly rate allows you the space to learn as you go. Hourly rate is a great way of working with the customers when there are a variety of tasks they want done. You can ask them what their budget is for the task and let them know that within this budget, I can work X amount of hours at this rate on those tasks. It allows them to see exactly what they're getting for their money. The second reason I think hourly rate is amazing for new virtual assistants is they are easier to change. For example, your hourly rate is $30 an hour and you've been working with a client for a little while and you decide you would like to or need to change your hourly rate. You can go to the client and say, I'm upping my price by $2 an hour, which can be better received than you going and saying, I'm upping my package from $200 to $300 a month. Hourly rate is also great for those VAs who are offering multiple services to one client. For example, emails, Pinterest, social media content creation, and a weekly newsletter. It's easier to charge for this type of work on an hourly rate. All right, on to our second pricing structure. Our second pricing structure is packages. And again, these are a pretty common rate that you will see in the VA community. Packages are really great if you're working for a client doing one task all the time. For example, Pinterest, social media, weekly newsletter scheduling. Packages are really great for this type of work as you already have a good idea how long the task is going to take you and you can spread this out over the month or however long your package lasts. You can list in the packages exactly what the customer will be getting and give them a really clear idea of what they're getting for their money. Packages can also assist VAs with knowing what their income will look like each month, which you don't get with an hourly rate. With packages, you know exactly how much you are getting from each client, which can be really fantastic for someone who works for themselves and has a fluctuating income. The third type of pricing structure is retainers. These are similar to packages in a way, but they are much more suited to VAs who do the same task each month, but would prefer to have a consistent income. This is really well suited to VAs who are working for the same client, same amount of hours regularly, but aren't always doing the exact same services. For example, I have a client every month and I work the exact same hours for them, but I do a variety of different tasks for this client. This client and I agreed on a set amount of hours each month that I work, and I just use that across the month to complete any tasks that I need to do. Some tasks I do every single week. I schedule out their weekly subscriber emails and manage their email inbox. And then there are tasks I do as requested. For example, one month I might update the descriptions on the website. Another, I might be helping to schedule out promo emails. And I just make sure that I fit it within that month's hours. If I do go over 1 month because it's a huge task that needs to be done by a deadline, then I'll add it to the next month, work it out the next month so that it balances out. This works really well for clients who might sometimes have a bigger workload one month and a smaller one the next month. This client and I have been working together for nearly 5 years now, and it works really well for us because sometimes they might have a smaller month where I don't do all my hours and I can bank them up for later when I have a bigger month, but it means that I still get a really consistent income, and we have a really great way of communicating the hours I have and haven't worked each month. Now, the final type of pricing structure is a project rate. Now, this is not the type of pricing structure I have ever used personally. The type of clients I work with are more long-term clients, and I don't particularly do one-off projects. In saying this, I still think this is a really important type to include, as it is common for a lot of VAs. There is an amazing VA who does tech, and she sets up Kartra pages and memberships for her clients, and she uses a project rate. As she has specialized in this field, she has a really good idea of exactly how long a project will take, and then works out what her rate is for each individual project, depending on what is required. This is great for VAs who are going to be specializing in a program like Kartra. Each of these pricing structures has its own place, and you need to choose the one that best suits you and your needs. Remember, you can have a mix of pricing structures. You don't have to settle for just one. Maybe you have 2 clients who use packages, 1 retainer, and then 2 who are just using you for a one-off project. No one size fits all. And I think that's super important to remember. It can be really easy to get stuck in the box of thinking, okay, well, I only offer packages. But if that doesn't suit one of your potential clients and you want to work with them, then figure out what does and work with them. It's so easy for us to get stuck and not realize that we can be really flexible in our pricing structures. We can change packages, we can, offer new packages. Just remember that we should be forever upgrading the way we're charging. And now, don't forget to check back next Wednesday for part 2 of this series. We'll be talking